Welcome to the Children's Book Author Podcast. I'm your host, Eleanor Page. If you write for children, or it's always been your dream to, you're in the right place. As the children's book author, I'm on a quest to discover everything there is about writing, publishing, and marketing children's books, as well as how to supercharge my creativity, skyrocket my productivity, and absolutely everything else there is to know about how to be the best, so you can be too. Join me as I interview fabulous guests and become the children's book author. Welcome back to the Children's Book Author Podcast. Yes, it is back for 2025. And oh my gosh, I know you have been emailing me, some of you saying, is it still going? And it is, it definitely is. But there were so many things going on that I didn't put out an episode for the longest amount of time. So apart from a child finishing high school, year 12, at the end of 2024, well, all of 2024, it was a lot of that taking up time. And then, not to sound like I'm making excuses, but then I put a lot of time and energy into running my first ever course, which at the time was called 33 Days to a Written Book. And that course was an amazing experience. I had such a dedicated team of creatives who wanted to learn how to write fiction. And look, we all know how to write fiction. Well, even if we don't, we're born knowing how to write fiction because we watch so many shows, read so many books. I think it's inbuilt in us. But it was incredible to guide them through writing picture books and middle grade and how to bring characters to life and coming up with amazing ideas, because if it's not an amazing idea, then it might sell, but it might not become a blockbuster. So, we want to come up with blockbuster ideas, and it was an incredible journey. I learned so much, and that course will be relaunched later this year. I'm going to rename it as the Picture Book and Middle Grade Writing Blueprint, as it will sit under the banner of the Children's Book Author Blueprint. So that'll be fun. Look out for that. Meanwhile, I do have a bunch of interviews that I recorded at the end of last year that you will be getting in the next couple of weeks. So listen in to all of those on the podcast. Also, I've been busy writing. Isn't that good news? So in the throes of writing book 2, well, actually, I did already write it last year, but I'm kind of rewriting it, fixing it. Let's call it the second draft of The Curious Creatures of 77 Sycamore Street. At the end of the year, I also had 2 front teeth pulled out. Oh, God, that was a glamorous time in my life. And perhaps I sound slightly different now when I talk. My S's might be popping more, who knows, because I now have my new teeth. So you might notice them on the video, not this video, but you might notice them on videos down the track. And then you'll have an insight as to the old interviews and the new interviews. And it's important to say that sometimes we do have something that comes up in our own life. Sometimes it's joyful things, sometimes it's traumatic things, but nonetheless, our writer, entrepreneurial, business, whatever life sometimes has to pause for us to move through these other aspects of life. And that's just the reality. And creative people are no exception. In fact, yes, creative people do burn out and do all sorts of other things like had enough or reinvent themselves, and one of them is that we, have a life. But it was a very fun stage. And now here I am, a bit refreshed. I had a nice long holiday and back into writing, back into editing courses, and of course, back into editing podcasts. And it was amazing to listen back over Kristy's interview and listen to it again myself as I was editing out a few of those ums and ahs and bits where I particularly waffle or say, like. So editing all those bits out to make it nice, easy listen for you. And oh my gosh, she is incredible. The things she does, and what I love so much is the way she just says, don't say no to me because it'll make me do it even more. You will love it. You will learn so much about grassroots independent publishing and how to get out there and make connections and get your book places that it may never have gotten to if you hadn't have done that. And why not? Because you can in this day and age. So make sure you have your pen and paper ready to take notes on this interview. I hope you enjoy it, and it's a wonderful addition to your knowledge and your action blueprint for 2025. I hope that this is the year that you either write something that's going to become the next big book, even if that big book means, you find your first 1,000 readers. Amazing. And perhaps you'll find your next 25,000 readers. Even better. But this is the year. Get back out there, keep going, and I'll see you on the next episode. Welcome back to the Children's Book Author Podcast with me, your host, Eleanor Page. And today I have a dynamic author. In fact, she gave me the adjective herself, which was very useful and extremely appropriate. It is Kristy Nita Brown, who is a junior fiction author. There's a lot, bear with me. Author, educator, creative entrepreneur, and independently publishes her books. Her debut book, Looking for Lily, was shortlisted for the 2023 West Australian Young Readers Book Award, and more and lots, but I'm going to ask her all about it and not say all the rest. Welcome to the show, Kristy.
Thanks for having me.
Gosh me, well, I don't know, start at the beginning, your beginning. How did you end up? Because as we go through, the listeners will see that you actually have like a massive run sheet of all the incredible abilities, talents, skills that you have. And how did you start on this journey that, because sometimes when you see the end of someone, you're so intimidated, you think I could never get there. And, you are so massively accomplished. So take me to the beginning. How did you get started writing kids' books of all things?
Oh my goodness. Thanks for saying all those nice things about me. I feel a bit scared now. So I guess I have a background in primary school teaching. So straight out of, I actually went to TAFE. So I did high school. It didn't go so well. I was a bit of a bad kid, and then got into TAFE and did youth work. And after a year of doing youth work, I moved into primary education. So I did the 4-year bachelor, and I went out for a couple of years teaching. But it's funny because film was always in my heart. I wanted to be a filmmaker. So I actually went back to uni and did filmmaking and writing scripts and telling stories. Like obviously it will lead into where I'm going. So I did a bit of work in film and worked in Sydney and worked in Melbourne, and then somehow managed to end up in the music industry. So for a couple of years there, I did all the marketing and distribution for bands, and then came back to Perth to settle down and have a family. And it was actually me being pregnant and then having my child and breastfeeding it late at night, scrolling through Facebook, the social media, and seeing all my friends doing so much fun, so many fun things. And I thought, I just can't keep reading Facebook. So I turned it off and I opened notes, and I was like, oh, maybe I could write a story. Like I've done film and TV, like I've done all these crazy things. So I started like jotting down ideas for books with my 2 little thumbs. While I was breastfeeding, and that's how it all started. I just came up with some ideas. I've always had one really strong idea in the back of my mind that was actually a script, and I felt like I didn't have the ability yet to be able to write it. So I thought I would try the market with a few other ideas, and that's where Looking for Lily came from, and also Mavey and Beth, I guess, to an extent. So yeah, so I've just been testing ideas and seeing how I go, and then like really learning the craft. I do lots of courses, and I go to lots of industry events and talk to lots of other authors and illustrators. And then it's a huge journey. You're right. I'm just developing as I go, getting ready for that big one.
Well, I love that the journey started by you being naughty. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Because
I'm totally naughty.
yeah, and I mean, I don't know, were you even allowed to say naughty these days? Well, I'm saying it. It's my podcast. But I guess the point I'm getting at is that not necessarily even rebellious. It's, I heard that word entrepreneur in there, and it's that there's something wrong with this. I'm going to go and find a way that I fit. So you've gone to all these different creative fields. And then I also heard in there this real love of children, and you've kind of managed to marry them together into the perfect thing for you. Like it matches who you are to a T.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm really lucky I've got all these experiences in different areas that are all creative arts, and that I can pull it all together to writing books for kids and now working with kids. So I'm back again working with primary school students. I'm also a lecturer at TAFE, and I do film and television. So I'm back again working with kids, and I'm writing for kids, and I'm doing all these great kind of arts activities. So it's amazing. Yeah, I'm super, super lucky that I can combine all my skills. I'm very lucky.
How do you balance all that? Do you know, like there's theories that say you should pick one thing and stick to it, or there's other theories that say do all the things. Do you find that actually works to your advantage to have a lot of different pies with your fingers in them?
Yeah, that's right. I do. I'm a bit of a, I guess, like, I'm a bit of a gypsy too. I like to move around a lot. So I was one of those kids that, every second weekend I'd rearrange my furniture, and I'd move all my posters around, and I'd set up my things differently. So I'm a person that doesn't like to sit somewhere for a long time. Like even with my career at TAFE, like I've been at TAFE for 10 years, but that's just insane for me to be somewhere for 10 years. And I think the reason why I did it for so long is because each year I got a new cohort of students. So it would be almost like starting again. And I was always meeting new people and bringing guest presenters in and trying new programs. So I'm somebody that really likes to be constantly changing and evolving. So it works for me. Like I'm having a blast. I'm probably at one point I will pass away. I'll be like 110, and I'll just be like,
never. No, I reckon you'll be one of those ghosts that's like, no, here I am.
yeah, I'm never going to give up. I'm going to be like, I've got an idea.
But that's the crux, isn't it? I think you nailed it with that sentence just then. I've got an idea. And, you have ideas. A lot of people have ideas, but you quintessentially act on your ideas. You act on all your ideas. And, one of the words that comes through for me for you is you're so grassroots. You actually are out in your community. You're, like you said, you're in schools, you're running workshops, you're writing things, you're publishing. You're actually, we're going to talk about this, you're getting your books into actual bookstores, and you're really grassroots. And for me, that takes a lot of courage. So the reason I'm asking you this question is always a selfish reason, but there's a lot of me's out in the listening world, is, where does that confidence come from? Like, what happens if they go, no, or you are bad, or that workshop sucked? But do you care? Do you go, tell me what your mindset is?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things running through my head. It's a really interesting question that nobody's ever asked me before. So basically, when somebody tells me no, and I'm pretty sure this started in high school, when somebody tells me no, I get like a fire in my belly, and I'm just like, how dare you? And I'm just like, we're going to make this work. I'm going to make this work, and it's going to happen. So that's pretty much me. Like, that's how I've gone through life. I'm really lucky that something dangerous or bad didn't happen to me. But yeah, so when people say no, I generally go, no, I'm going to make this happen. So that happens. I'm also a person that I guess like my biggest fear is public speaking, but I've done so much of it now. I'm completely past it. So like, except I could not talk at my wedding. So anything that's really kind of like family or friends. And actually this happened to me So I presented at a night out with our stars, the CBCA Perth event where authors get up and speak. And I got super, super nervous. And it wasn't actually the 200 librarians I was talking to. It was the 10 authors at the front of the room who were also talking. So I still get scared, and I'm not like this huge, like kind of beast of a person that can just do it all. But yeah, I guess just managing that and practicing over time. I have done little things like I've gone to Toastmasters. I'm not sure if you know, it's like an international body for public speaking. So yeah, usually when I have an issue or a problem, I'll try and solve it and then keep going. Yeah.
I feel as though you finish everything you say with a golden sentence that has to go on a sticky note and put up on the board. So, you said just then, whenever I have a problem, I just solve it. And, that sounds pretty simple to the listeners, but actually that is massively important, because there's two outcomes, right, in everything. You either get exactly what you wanted, or you get the lesson that can take you to where you wanted. And if you've got a way to solve that, then you keep moving, whereas a lot of people do quit. So, I imagine, you tell me more, but filmmaking, certainly the book industry world, is fraught with judgment, challenges, no's, no.
Constant.
And yet you go, that's okay, I'll find a solution for that. And then you go and find a solution for that, which is amazing, is actually amazing. And in the publishing world, is it that you haven't gotten trad published because you haven't wanted to? Or did you get a lot of no's and go, boop, I'm just going to go do it myself?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, traditional publishing. The state of the industry right now, I'm sensing that it's actually really tough, like now more than ever, to get a deal. So like for me, of course, like I'm not going to lie, I would love a traditional, deal, probably more so just to deal with their staff. Like now with all the experience I've had indie publishing, I really want to see, do they actually have the best editors and what kind of marketing do they do? So I'm really attracted to the process. And of course, like, people, it opens doors when you're traditionally published. So yeah, I do aspire to be traditionally published. And generally with each manuscript I write, I send it out to Penguin or Allen and Unwin or whoever I'm targeting, and I'll wait and hear back. And I'm getting responses back now, which is amazing. And it takes a little while to get that, and I get great feedback. But generally, yeah, it's a tough market. So I guess the other thing that happens around that time when I'm getting, rejections or interest or whatever it is, and I decide, like, so right now I'm working on something for a couple of publishing houses that want to read it, which is great. But there's always this thing in the back of my mind, like I've already worked out the Kickstarter campaign for it, and I know that I could smash it. So it's me, like I get to a point where I'm like, I just can't keep waiting. And I just get so excited. And I know my mind's already like months ahead of where I should be. You've just got to wait 6 months for your reply. And I'm like, well, actually, no, I'm selling books and I'm working hard, and the numbers that traditional publishing is, like what I'm hearing, the book numbers that they're selling, and then the author gets a tiny percentage, like 10% or even 5% if they've got an illustrator. Like I'm already kind of making that money. So doing it indie and receiving like all the profits. So it's very difficult, and you can probably tell I'm extremely torn. So yeah, honestly, with my strategy, I'll send it out to some publishers. I'll wait to hear for some feedback, but by then I've probably already started the process, to be honest. Like I'm already thinking about what illustrator I want to use and what printing company I want to use and how I could market this and really sell it. So yeah, I'm sitting on something at the moment that is hilarious, and it's middle grade, and I have so many family and friends, and I'm involved in my community. I've got so many people with kids this age that I know I can move like a lot of books. So I don't know how much longer I can sit around and wait.
Yeah, but isn't that what they say, that like, trad publishers don't just invest in a book, they invest in the author. I don't know, I find it mind-blowing that some publisher hasn't spotted you and gone, cancel everybody else on our books. take it, because like you're there doing the things that sometimes they can't get other authors to even do. So
I know, it's crazy. Like I was thinking today, so I'm speaking to someone at the moment. I was thinking today, like, if I could just put an email together that says, look, I know all these bookstores. I've got family in Sydney. I've got family in Melbourne. Like, I'm in the schools. I've grown my business this much. Like, yeah, I don't know. I guess like the state of the industry, I think they're looking for more than that. Like, it's hard. Like, there's so many talented authors here in WA that I know that are just starting out, or they've had a couple of successes, and it's really tough. So if you want to be traditionally published, like, you have to wait. And yeah, I just don't think I'm prepared to wait. Like, I'll try. But yeah, I'm raring to go.
Yeah, you are. So let's talk about how you got your self-published book into bookstores. And I know that a lot of listeners, I get the question all the time, can you ask someone how they got their book into bookstores? And I haven't got mine in bookstores, so I can't answer the question, but you really have. And so tell me the process of doing that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm a little bit cheeky. I've got a couple of things going on. So I organised a distribution deal. So I went through the Australian Society of Authors, and they have a distribution deal with John Reed Books. So I used John Reed Books to go interstate. I tried to carve out WA because, like, I've gotten to know all the booksellers around here, and the people that put books into schools and things like that, but they wouldn't let me. So it's a real balancing act for me at what point I stop the distribution deal and take over and do the whole lot myself. So obviously I need help with interstate, but I don't need help in WA. So first of all, that's going on in the back of my mind. I'm trying to work out the timings of when I start and stop that kind of deal. And then in the background, I'm talking to all my shops regularly. So not too much that you bug them because they're always busy. But if you go in on, say, a Monday or a Tuesday, and you go in when it's quiet, maybe 11 a.m. or whatever, and you just introduce yourself, and you only need a couple of bookstores to become fans, like to support you. And then they'll talk to more bookstores. Like WA, we have maybe like 10 really strong indie bookstores here. And then on top of that, you have Dymocks and Boffins and people like that. So just getting to know them. And I know that sounds really, like, I'm saying it so easily, but and people are like, oh my goodness, like, how do you do that? So I guess you do need a bit of confidence. And that's where I would say, if anybody's not confident with public speaking, please consider Toastmasters. For me, they did wonders. And and also, like, working in front of children or volunteering somewhere that has kids, or maybe you work in an area that has students or business or whatever, that can also help too. So eventually you just have to have a go, and hopefully the first person you speak to is nice, because I think that if the first person kind of knocks you at the start, it's a bit harder to get over that, but it happens to everybody. So just go into your local bookstore and try and make a fan. Ask for the manager when it's quiet, like I said. And then, but on top of that, also, you need to have good product. So I can't go into a bookstore and push a book that hasn't been, most of my books, I do maybe 3 or 4 manuscript assessments. I've made friends now that I don't have to pay for them as much. And then, of course, you need to put your work through some professional editors. So, I run my books through maybe 3 or 4 times with an editor, and I use different editors for different things. And that's just getting to know industry and going along to all those events. So then having a strong product, like, I wouldn't walk into a bookstore with a product that I'm not absolutely 100% sure has no errors, and it can definitely stand on the shelf next to a traditionally published book.
So you'd walk in with the book, introduce yourself, say, this is my book or my books, and then you'd say what?
Then I asked for a consignment deal. So every bookstore, most bookstores, I shouldn't say every, because obviously chains like Kmart and Target and QBD, I think they're called, those guys don't do consignment with local authors. So generally it's like your indie bookstores. So you'll probably have one in your suburb, hopefully, or, within the surrounding areas. So you go in and you just say, look, I'm a local author, I'm an indie author, I've got this great book, people love it, kids love it. tell them a bit about yourself, and then say, can we do a consignment deal? They'll say, these are the terms and conditions. And in most cases, there'll be like a little one-page contract. And generally the bookstores take 40% and you take 60%. And that is after GST. And then so after that, they'll ask you what the RRP is, which is like the recommended retail price, and so you tell them what price you want. That's actually a really good point. So check the books that are in market that are similar to yours and see how much they cost, and you can just play around with that price. So with Mavey and Beth, I went out at $12.99, and actually I got a little bit stung because right when I went out at that price, most chapter books were around that price. But then the industry had this thing where, paper was non-existent, and, printers weren't, they couldn't print. So all of a sudden all the books went up a couple of bucks. So just be aware of that, and if it impacts your pricing. So set your price right, and then, tell them how much. Then they'll say to you, we'll put it on the shelf, and you could probably tell them a little bit about the book too, because they obviously need to sell it. So they have to know what your book is about. You might want to give them a couple of free samples so they can read it if they have time. And then I generally catch up. So in the start, I used to contact them like every month and just see how the books were going. But I realized pretty quickly that that was too soon. So now I do maybe every 2.5 months. And generally face-to-face works the best. So I'll go in every 2.5 months and say, hi, remember me? On those quiet days, I'll go in and just say, have you sold any books? And they'll say yes or no. And then if it's a yes, then they might ask me to invoice them, and I include my bank details. Or they might, there's a shop here that just pays cash, and then we kind of have like a verbal agreement, So just being flexible, and also understanding bookstores are not making much, their profit margins are small. And if a book got stolen, for example, or damaged, then I definitely probably wouldn't say anything about that. I would try and keep that relationship, and, just be kind to the bookstores because they're selling your books.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy. And, really, you do. It's sort of like, okay, sometimes we make things harder than we need to in our own heads. And so you're like the distributor. They're like making the contract with you direct, and they're open to doing that.
That's right. Yeah. I probably should say, I was thinking about this the other day because I've had this quite a lot. How are you able to do this? Why are you so confident? And I to be honest, I actually think it's my upbringing. So my dad was he was just a tip-top delivery driver, and he hurt his back one day, and he got quite hurt. And so we decided, we have to do something. So he, went through court and everything and solved it. And then he had to retrain. So he needed a new business. So we moved to Adelaide, and he started a picture framing company. And he did this maybe it comes from my dad. He just walked in and it was a salesman job. And he's like, yeah, I can sell you picture frames, but in return, I want you to show me how to make them. So he got taught how to make picture frames, and then he stayed with that company for 5 years and made them good money. And then we all moved back to Perth, and he opened his own business. So I think watching my dad just, from the very bottom, work his way up, learn a new skill, and then move again and actually launch his business. And he was dealing direct with the shops. He'd walk in with this little invoice book, and he'd have all these picture frames, and he'd put them in on consignment. And then, he had 30 clients, and they'd be paying every month thousands of dollars, and people were buying his picture frames. That's his job now. It's been 30 or 40 years he's been a picture framer. So so I think that kind of maybe influenced me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Seeing him do it and just succeed. Yeah, even though he had setbacks, as you said.
Yeah.
And do you print a bulk lot of books, and then you have them to distribute in that way?
That's right. Yeah. So you have to be careful with how many you print, and also things come up that you don't expect. So my first book, Looking for Lily, that was a real test case for me, and the first time I've ever done anything. And I can't actually pick up that book and read it now that I've learned so much. I'm just too scared to find all the mistakes, and I know I'll be super embarrassed, but I'm proud of it because somehow, somewhere, someone nominated it for the WA Young Reader Book Award. So I had been starting dabbling with library visits, and I'd been chatting to people. So someone put me forward, and then the organisers had to pick the books from that whole selection, and they picked mine. So in my mind, when I first printed Looking for Lily, I thought I would sell maybe 100 or 200 to friends and family. So, and then I thought, oh, well, I'll get left with some books. Maybe I can, put them in the book houses or donate them to schools. So I only did a very small print run of 500. And then within the first 3 months, they were gone. And I was just like, what? Like, this is insane. And so, yeah, the distributor actually only took 30. He was like, I only need 30. That's fine. We'll just test it. And then all of a sudden, like, I think it was 28 days later, he called me and he's like, no, we need heaps more. So I was just like, whoa, okay. So that was really shocking. And then the nomination came through and I had to do another print run. So it blew me out of the water. So sometimes things like that happen, but generally I would say, like, be cautious with your print numbers. So Mavey and Beth, for example, because so much was going on with Looking for Lily, I couldn't do as much marketing for Mavey and Beth. And it's a chapter book. It's a beginner reader. So it's very small. It's only 4,000 words. So sales haven't been as huge as Looking for Lily. They've been more of a slow growth. People are interested in it, but it's taking a long time for it, whereas Looking for Lily was very fast. So with that print run, I doubled the print run, expecting, something to happen, and it's gone slower. So the print run has taken longer to sell. So I can definitely see the difference between the two. And also your second time round, less family and friends will purchase. So you need to keep that in mind. And I also went lower in age group when I should have gone higher, because a lot of my friends and family have kids the same age as my children, and they're all getting older, not younger. So they're more likely to buy middle grade now rather than a beginner reader chapter book. So, and those things are important to consider, because that's sales and that helps you pay back the money you spend on the product.
Yeah, because you're investing that up front. That's
right. Yeah. So I was lucky. I had a bit of a, I had a backer. Like, I had somebody say to me, I really believe in you. And they gave me a small chunk of money and said, like, it doesn't matter if you lose it. So that was amazing. So if there's any way you can get someone to back you, or you could do like some kind of campaign, or you could save your money and go, okay, I'm going to throw this away. It doesn't matter if I lose it, but I'm just going to test the market. That helps a lot to relieve the stress.
Yeah, and you did mention that, you could do a Kickstarter. So tell me, if you were to do a Kickstarter, what does that involve?
Yeah, so this is so exciting. I actually told a couple of my friends about Kickstarter about 6 months ago, and then they all went off and did it. And one of them's going really well. So, Ash Harrier is an author here in WA, and she's just launched I think she's writing under Ash Harrier. She also has another name, Sasha Wasley. She's she's a best-selling author, and she's just launched her Ghostling book. It's a book she bought the rights back to, and she launched it on Kickstarter last week, and it's already funded like 3 times over. So yeah, Kickstarter's amazing. Her advice is to get involved in the Kickstarter chat groups on Facebook and to really listen to what people are saying. So that helps you learn how to run your Kickstarter. So for me, I haven't done one yet, but I'm super interested in them, because I feel like it's person to person. So you're basically cutting out any middlemen taking any money, which is nice. So it's direct to consumer. And then also the other thing about it, I'm conscious of the environment, and I write books and they're on paper. So I really like the idea that Kickstarter means someone will order a book and you're only printing to the number of people who want it, rather than printing like a whole batch and then having some left over. So yeah, that's what I love about Kickstarter. And I also think, like, the book that I'm working on at the moment and finishing up, I think that book, it's about like a kid that pranks, and he pranks so much that he gets elected as class captain and becomes the student counselor. So basically my Kickstarter could be amazing, because I could have like the book for sale, but also I could have all these pranks, and then pay $100 and I'll shave your head off. $200 and I'll toilet paper your enemy's house. So that kind of thing's going through my mind, where I'm like, this could really be fun.
Oh, I reckon I would buy one of those if you toilet paper my enemy's house. Done.
I know. I think I could sell a lot of books.
Yeah, but it's really great, because you're getting into the theme of it. And that's, essentially, like you said, what Kickstarter is. They're investing in a product. So you're not asking people to give you money for nothing. They're actually just almost like a pre-order, isn't it? Like they're buying it prior to you committing to make and print it.
That's exactly what it is. It's a pre-order in my mind. So I've done pre-orders before, and I've moved a lot of books especially with Looking for Lily, pre-orders are great. And it also saves you from having to do a book launch, which in my mind costs the author. So I don't think, from what I'm hearing, I don't think the traditional, like the publishing houses are putting in money for book launches generally. Maybe they are, but it's not what I'm hearing. And the author then has to like do all the catering, and they probably need a new outfit, and they probably need the hair done. And then they've got to organize like a keynote speaker, or, you know, someone to run the event, and then they've got to organize activities. Like in the end, I can't see how you can get out of a book launch for like less than $1,000. But when you do something like Kickstarter, or you just do a pre-order on your own website, which is what I did with Looking for Lily, it was amazing during COVID too, because like people don't have to leave their houses and they can still support you and buy the book. So yeah, I don't think, some people have said to me before that Kickstarter's like, you know, begging for money. I totally disagree. I think it's the new model. Like, especially now, I think authors want to engage with their readers. Like, it's the perfect thing to be able to do that.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And probably, yeah, good suggestion. Try one and see how it works and learn from it would be your best approach. But yeah, how exciting. And you know, if you fund it, how amazing. You can now create the book and not feel stressed in any way, shape, or form about the investment you're making.
That's right. I think, yeah, as an indie author, it's great to have a lump sum up front and to work out your budget and to go, okay, this is what I can spend, and be smart about your prices and make sure you're competitive. Like, you know, you get all different quotes from different people and you get the best product. And then when you go out to market, it's just like, I don't have to worry about being blacklisted or not selling copies, because the only person it impacts is me. And if copies aren't selling, instead of them being, you know, pulped or thrown away or whatever, I can actually donate them. So I can give them to schools in need or put them in the book houses or whatever. So yeah, I just think it's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in amazing that the first book just did that and probably set you up to thinking, I can actually do this. Fascinating to me, as you said, that even though you've probably broken even and actually made profit, yes, hello,
Yes.
but still you'd love the idea of being trad published, and that's probably as much as anything, like you said, to open doors, to experience working with a team that has your back and is there to support you in creating a beautiful product. Because now there's still that little bit of you that goes, it is good, yeah, like I did hire all the professionals, but you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then
can definitely say yes to that, because yeah, I always question my product, like of course, because I haven't got the powers that be saying, yeah, this is it, it's ready. So, and yeah, I've released two books, and I was going to go out with a third later this year, but I've like decided maybe I should just hold off a bit. I think I can make it better. So yeah, that's what attracts me definitely to traditionally publishing, is to see how they work for you, how they work with you, and how they support your career. But I would be so disappointed if I signed to some label, or sorry, I call it labels because I worked in music. If I signed to a publishing house and I didn't receive that support, or I wasn't able to see those processes, I might, yeah, my husband thinks I'll probably annoy them with all my emails saying, why isn't this happening?
yeah, that makes sense. I've got my first what is it called? There's a word for this. Foreign rights deal. I've got my first foreign rights deal, yeah, for one of my books, and it. I imagine, I can only just imagine because I haven't experienced a trad publisher, but it must feel similar because everything is so
Oh.
slow. It's like, oh yes, we were going to release it at the beginning of this year, but actually we've decided we're going to release it at the beginning of next year, and I'm like, of course, what's a year? That's fine. It's like so slow. So yeah, that's probably the bit that would drive me crazy the most. But I did have a trad published author, speaking to your quality issue, excuse me, who recently did their own book, and then I gave them or recommended my proofreader, and they said, wow, he's like the most amazing proofreader, better than my editor, better than any editor I've ever worked with. And I thought, oh really, that actually makes me feel So much better, because all this time I was wondering, I'm like, I think it's a good book, but maybe, especially teachers or librarians, they scare the living shit out of me. Like, they just sort of pick the book, and I feel like I'm apologizing for it as it hits their hands. You were a teacher though, so maybe you've got that, a level of quality that I'm completely unaware of. So yeah.
Oh, I think I'm going to steal your proofreaders' contacts as well.
You
That's
can't
amazing.
maybe you can have them off air, because I'm not giving it to everybody, only because I need to get my book in when I get my book in. I'll talk to him. Maybe he's willing to take on 100 new people. I don't know. Could retire him from his other jobs.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, so editors have been the toughest for me to find, but I have one now that I work with that's pretty good. But yeah, I just would love to try a traditionally published one. And I got on I forgot what it's called, Goodreads. I don't know if it's a bot or what, but someone said, like, I have good stars for a few, and then someone's like, oh, it's definitely not traditionally published and needs a proper edit and proofread. And I wanted to write back and say, this has been edited 4 times. There's only one full stop missing on page 35.
Yeah, but 4 times is like, that's amazing. I just get the one and I freak. I kind of like, oh. And particularly when I heard that there was, I can't remember the name of it now, but there was a particular series, and the really well-known fantasy series, and the author said that it took 22 rounds of editing with their publisher to get it to the place that it's at. And I thought, 22 rounds. Oh God, my book's going to be bad compared to it. But I guess as time's gone on, I've actually gotten good with thinking, well, my book's bad, but it's still a book. Yeah, and it's only bad for you, but it might be great for the kid who reads it. And, that's the best that I can do at this moment. Mustn't let it, hold you back. And I bet kids, when you actually work with kids, do they have like very solid opinions about what they like and don't like, what they find funny and what they don't find funny?
Yeah, they totally do. They do. And that, like, also, that's how I know that my books aren't too bad, because they come up to me and they've read them and they're like, actually, that was really great. When's number 2 coming out? And then I have to admit, I haven't done it yet. No, but the kids are fantastic. Like, I'm working with so many kids at the moment. I just finished, so we're in our last couple of weeks of Book Builders Challenge, and I've been working with 150 kids every week, twice a week for 16 weeks. So I know, like, all of their slang, everything they like.
So then that can all roll into the books, because you're actually, becoming one of them. So
Yeah, I've got lots of is it called when you're the auntie? It's nieces and nephews, right? I've
Yep.
got like a horde of them in Sydney, and they're all hitting puberty now, which is awesome, because I'm onto the phone, I'm like texting them saying, oh, can you tell me a swear word for shit that isn't a swear word? And they like the kids sent me Scrooge McDuck, and I was like, I don't get it. And they're trying to explain to me how rude it is. I'm like, I don't think I can put that in a book. It's going to age.
Yeah, exactly. Does it age in the book? Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So, what's the secret with working with kids, or even doing a school visit?
Oh, that's so big. Let's unpack that one. So do you mean as for me or as a newbie? Would you like me to give advice or?
Yes, because I've got a running joke on this podcast that I'm terrified to do school visits, and who's the author that's going to get me over the line? And so far, probably the closest who's got me there, there's been a few, but Adrian Beck said he would tie me up like Hannibal Lecter, put a mask on me and roll me into an auditorium, and then let me loose and just make me do it. And I thought maybe I could do it that way. But, something in me still goes, yeah, I'll do that next month. Yeah, I'll kind of do that, and put it off. And I don't know what it is. Like, it's not like I actually don't have a problem public speaking. You could throw me into an auditorium and I would make stuff up. But I guess, if I'm really being honest and just sort of settling into the topic, it's more to do with, well, A, the fear of teachers and librarians, not the children, and B, having it be something of immense value, so that the children do get something out of it. And it's really not just about, here's me and my book. like in a way that's kind of entertaining and works out well so that everybody gets what they want, because everyone wants something different in a school visit, right? Like I want to be known and sell books. The teacher and the librarian want something educational or to just babysit the kids. I don't know, I'm making that up. And the kids want something fun and enjoyable out of it, right? So, how do you come together and do that? And this is getting even more complicated, Kristy, and set yourself apart from every other author who might be able to come in and do that, right? So, why would they bring me in to do it when they could have Adrian Beck come in and do it, right? Yeah, that's my question. Is that too hard?
Oh my goodness. Like, first of all, you're way thinking too much into this.
Yeah, that's because I've interviewed too many people and now it's working against me instead of for me.
Okay. Well, I can win you over in like a couple of words. Like, basically, it's where the money is. So if you want to make money, you need to start.
I don't think any of them have said that one yet.
What? That's because they don't want you to know. They don't want you. They don't want you coming onto the market and taking their classes, man.
You're right. They're actually giving me advice and being like, "You get onto that, Eleanor. Just not this year."
Wow, no, totally. It's where the money is. Like, books are very hard. It's hard to sell books. And even like, I think there's an article in The Guardian this week that got thrown up on our Squibby page. A bestseller is 5,000 copies. Now, if you're the author without an illustrator and you sell 5,000 copies, you only get 10% of the book value. If the book's selling for $20, what's that? 10 grand. You're going to get 10 grand over the life of the book, when the annual salary is like almost $100,000. No, so making money out of books, like big money, like not even big money, but money to supplement an income, is very difficult. So number one thing about school visits, it's where the money is. Like,
and thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. Because
I know I'm going to be shot now.
That's not said, yeah? Like there's still a cohort out there that think, we're little famous children's book authors. You tell the person at the supermarket, I write children's books, and they look at you like, oh, like actors. Yeah, but, how much do they actually make in reality? So it needs to be said. Continue.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the truth teller, and now Adrian Beck's going to roll me out. It's going to be like, what did that lady say? She's ruined our industry.
And he does listen to every podcast. So
hi, Adrian.
Yeah, hi, Adrian. We're talking about you on air. SMS me later. Let's catch up.
No, seriously, like, it's not just that. Like, first of all, you have to charge the right rates, otherwise you won't see the money. So the Australian Society of Authors has a rate card, and I encourage everybody who wants to do school visits to become a member, or to at least check out the rate card, and don't do anything for free, because once it starts, it doesn't stop, and word gets around. If a school
pause, word gets around. What did you mean by that?
Well, librarians talk, especially community libraries. They're all kind of connected. So, and sometimes schools talk because, like principals talk. And so if they find out that someone's done something for free, then they may mention it, not nastily, but in passing or whatever. And then a smart person will go, oh, okay, well, that'll save me X amount of dollars, So it gets around. Like, I've heard horror stories of people that have dressed up as zookeepers and worked a whole day in a school for free, and, seen 6 classes and then not sold one single book. So just be very careful, but just be confident on how much you're going to charge, and have a look at the ASA rate tracker. So it's about $370 an hour, I think, if you're in a community library, and then less if you're in a school. And there's also day rates. Like, as an author going into schools, like, you have to have an ABN, you've got to do all your own super. If you do your super, you have to pay taxes, you don't get sick leave or holiday pay. So I just don't think it works if you're undercharging. However, if you have a school that's low socioeconomic or struggling, then I would definitely consider myself as giving them a reduced rate, but the way I would represent it on the invoice is that I'm charging ASA rates because I'm an ASA member, and then I'm giving them X percent, like a 20% reduction due to their school situation. So just being professional about doing business and charging properly. Yeah, so that's the first thing about school visits. The other thing about school visits, there's a couple of things. So number two, I don't know if you've been around school teachers lately or librarians, but they're not God. They're
Are you
not.
sure? Are you sure?
Yeah. No. They're probably worse than you. Like, probably their clothes aren't ironed or maybe even washed. Like, generally they have
Hold on.
families.
You said worse than me. Can you actually see beyond what the camera's showing?
Sorry.
I love it. I have my pajama pants on. No, I don't.
Oh, cute.
It would work.
Yeah, no, generally, like, they're people and they're struggling too. Like, a teacher's life is pretty hard, especially now, like, schools, they're lacking in funding and there's a lot of kids in the class and there's a lot of different kind of abilities in the class and mental health. So, teachers are really happy to have somebody come in and relieve them for a couple of minutes or an hour or whatever it is. They're so excited that they don't actually have to speak. So if you've got kids, if you're a family person, you would know what it's like having little ones at you all day. And then someone goes, oh, I'm just coming in for the hour. Can you just keep an eye on them and I'll teach? They're up the back with a cup of tea, having a break, checking their phones.
Perfect.
Yeah, so don't worry about teachers and librarians. Like, they're always lovely and they're just struggling just like we are. And then the third thing is I never, ever put the pressure on myself to deliver anything but fun. So number one thing that I want the kids to have, especially because I'm an author and it's books, they've got to have fun. So if they don't have fun, then I haven't done my job. If during that fun they learn one new thing, then I'm super happy. Like, that's an awesome workshop. So that really brings it right down now. You don't have to stress about what you think they need or want because kids just want to have fun. So, yeah, and then bringing fun into it, the next step to that is playing lots of games and doing lots of activities and getting them to move around and work in small groups. So my workshops are super interactive, and this part might scare you. But I have I have like slapper hands and I have spinnies and I have dice and I have coins. And, we play all these games to like develop a tagline for a book or a story or an idea or a character or whatever it is we're doing that day. We might be building a world. And basically it's all just games. And so I'm working as a facilitator. I will never kind of stand at the front and just talk about myself for the hour. That's where I think the stress comes from in having to deliver like a TED talk or a comedy show. So I'm not that person. So I'm more interactive, having fun, doing things, creating things, and then, top and tailing with an intro and a summary. So that's kind of how I run my sessions. And the only way to get that right is to practice. So every time I go out to a school, I might throw in something new. I'll test it, see how it works. And, just be kind to yourself. Sometimes it's going to fail. Like, my first school visit was horrendous. Everyone's first one will be terrible. And you just have to get through it and learn from it.
Oh, I love that. You're a facilitator. That's like you've done it again. You've given me another powerful sentence. Gosh, and you gave me a valuable accounting lesson, like a business talk, which I needed. We all need it because, again, we don't tend to talk about business, money, profit. We just avoid those topics. We just talk about we love creating and doing those things. But you're right. All those things you said were so spot on. And the way that you're a facilitator, I think that really changes the way that I look at it. Now, you're right. It in some ways can make it somewhat harder, but only because you've got to start getting creative again.
That's right.
Isn't it?
You have to prepare. You have to prepare and you have to know. So I always need to know how many kids are in the room because number is really important. So in all my PD, like I've done quite a bit of PD on instructional intelligence. That word will scare you. But basically what Barry Bennett, who's like the guru of II, says is that any groups bigger than 3 will be off topic. If you've got 3 kids and they're sharing resources, they're all accountable to each other. Any more, it gets a bit rough. So keeping that that in mind, I need to know how many kids are in the room, and then I calculate it out and make sure I've got enough things for them to play with in groups of 3. And then I'll set up the room. I'll always go in half an hour early and make sure I've got my tables set up, and that, like, I'm avoiding all of the issues that can happen before they happen. So just making sure everything's set. So if a session did go badly for any reason, I know it's not because of something I've done in regards to putting them in groups or setting up the toys or whatever it is that you're doing. Yeah, so just ruling out things that can go wrong. And another thing I did want to say, I was thinking about it when you were talking, is that recently I've been sneaking into a whole bunch of author workshops. So I have a child that's the right age. I have 2 children that are the right age, actually, 4 and 9. And I've been booking all the library sessions for them and sitting at the back and taking notes.
And
So
what
if
have
you're
you
really,
learned?
really,
What have you
oh,
observed?
so much. If you're really, really scared and you're like freaking out, just book a whole bunch. Find a kid, just take a kid, book a whole bunch of them during the holidays and see what everyone else does. And you'll see all their good things and things that, you know, might not have worked so well, and you know what to avoid. So, like, for example, I went to Ashka, who's an illustrator here in WA, like a comic book maker, and her session was incredible. Like, I always say I could never do 2 hours straight, but she did 2 hours straight, and she got the kids from nothing all the way through to a little mini comic book.
Wow.
And she was so prepared. She had slides and she had examples, and all the tables were already set up and the markers were there, and she's such a lovely person and very encouraging. So the kids felt really confident to share their work. And then she projected their work on the TV so everybody could see. She, of course, vetted it first. I saw her go around and read them and then pick the ones. So, yeah, so she was great to see. I've snuck into Sasha Wosley's. Hers was a world-building one. Who else have I seen lately? Tracy Dembo, who's a new author in WA. She released 2 amazing picture books this year or last year. If you haven't read them, they're incredible. She did a great session. Oh, and of course, James Foley, he did one on illustration, which I don't know much about, which blew my mind. And it got me thinking, oh, I'd love to draw, but I can't.
Yet. I'm sure you'll add it to your CV in another year or 2.
I'm actually sure I won't.
Never say never. Not
No,
to a rebel.
that's definitely one area I'm no good.
Well, it's like anything, though. It's like you think that, but even just, I notice if something in you goes, "Ooh, that'd be interesting," it sits there and kind of waits
does.
for you, you know, like gets you there eventually in one way or another.
I know, I was thinking about how could I draw but not draw? So like collage or, you know,
True.
mud and paint.
Mud and paint. That would work. That
Yeah.
would work. Yeah.
I think it's been done.
Oh, has it been done? Yeah, but you would reinvent it, you know, and it would become one of
Thanks.
your things. Or one of your characters could do it, and then you get to have a session, you know.
Yeah.
So good. So how do you actually go and ask a school? Is it the same as a bookshop? If you can do
Oh, yeah. Interesting. That one's really hard. It's actually getting harder. I noticed this year it's harder. So in the past, I used to approach schools, and I used to. So first of all, as a newbie, the best thing you can do is talk to the local schools in your area, and then once you have one come on board, you can use that as an example. And so I made sure I took a couple of photos while I was there, or got someone to take photos for me, making sure you don't get the kid's face in it. And then I got a couple of quotes from the person who booked me, and then I was able to use that in an email to get more people in the area on board. It actually started for me at my local library. And so that day that I did my first local library, she said to me, that was great. We'd love to see you again. Have you spoken to any other libraries? And I said, no. And I was on such a high that I just drove over to the next library and I was like, hey, I just did a library talk. And they were like, great, we need someone. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was just riding the high. But yeah, so I think, I've lost my train of thought.
Well, you've got to ask. Basically, you have to ask. And once you get a yes, use that to leverage to get more yeses.
That's right, yeah. And then you can start to build it up. So in the last couple of years, I've approached people, and only just this year, so it takes a little bit of time, but just this year people are approaching me. So I have enough of a reputation now. So last year I did 17 school visits. And then this year, if I removed the grant, which was huge, I reckon I'd be up to about 50. It's quite a lot. Yeah, I've taken a year's leave without pay from my real job.
Wow, right.
Yeah, to do this.
Great, great. And you mentioned the grant. Tell us a little bit about that. So that's the workshops that you've been running for 16 weeks. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. So I run a program called Book Builders Challenge, and I applied for a Creativity for Schools grant from they have a new name now. They used to be called DCA, the Department of Culture and the Arts, and now it's a really long name, DLGSC. So, yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah, I can't remember what all the letters stand for, but basically it's like our state's version of, like the arts, the government supported arm of the arts. So, yeah, so I went for a grant and I've had an idea for a long time. I've been kicking it around in the back of my head for a couple of years. And then I mentioned it to Sean Avery, an illustrator here who did Frank's Red Hat, and he loved the idea. So he gave me a hand with the grant and we applied for it and it was successful. And so, yeah, we got quite a lot of money. So the project itself is worth probably to the school over about 60 grand. And I think we got funded almost 80% of it. And then we had to find the rest. So, yeah, I did all that. And we did Town of Victoria Park, the local council. We're applying for an arts grant at the moment to finish it off. But that looks successful. I find out tomorrow. And, yeah, and a whole bunch of businesses put in money. The school put in a tiny amount. Yeah, so basically we've got this huge amount of funding and then I was able to deliver the program. So Sean did about 6 sessions with the kids in illustration. And then I did all the sessions prior to illustration. So I did, developing ideas like from the very beginning all the way through to completing a manuscript. And then I hired a whole bunch of other authors, illustrators after that to deliver the rest. So I had Catherine Lefroy do beta reading. That was so cool when the kids learned how to beta read and they beta read for each other. Oh. And then Catherine recorded some videos of her beta reading the top 10 shortlisted manuscripts. So that was really beautiful. And then Sasha Wasley came on and did editing. So she spent 2 weeks with the kids teaching them how to edit their work. And then we had Rebecca J. Palmer, Graybill Evans, Campbell White. We had so many people, and Ashka came as well. Kylie Howarth, they all came and did illustration with the kids. And then I worked with them to get to a final product. I actually have some examples. Do you want to see?
Ooh, yes, please. And what age group are the kids? What ages?
I brought in a few. So these are the kids' work here. Ooh.
Wow. So what ages are these kids?
So these ones here that I'm holding, I think, are year 5. So the kids got to choose. They could do a graphic novel, a chapter book, or a picture book.
Excellent.
And it was a pretty close, even split. It was like 30, 60, 90 or whatever. But graphic novels were popular. And then so all the kids had to do a first draft manuscript, and then we actually had some amazing judges. So Nat Amor, who's a friend of mine, she came on board as a judge. James Foley and Kylie Howarth, they both judged. So they read the manuscripts. We shortlisted to 10, and then they chose the top 1, 2. They chose the top 2 from that, and we had quotes from them about all the students' work. And then from that point, the kids had to do their final drafts, and every kid's book is going to be on display at the Town of Vic Park Library on Monday the 29th. Actually, this will be recorded. It's probably already passed. You can't come.
Yeah. Too late. You missed it.
Yeah. So all the kids' books will be on display. And actually, this is the year 4 winning book. So Lucy the Lonely Dog. Is a picture book by a year 4 student. It is so gorgeous. But the best thing about it, and I'm going to show you, here's the proof.
So
it's at the printers now, and this is just a dodgy little one I cut together. But so basically the grant let us print copies to sell.
Amazing.
So it's all covered by the grant. So the kids are actually published authors now, the winners. And at the back, I included a whole bunch of stuff about the grant. So hopefully I can get funded again, because that's the plan. We want it to go bigger. So I got got all photos in the back like a yearbook, and I got quotes from Hannah Beasley and the principal. And so Hannah's our member over here in Vic Park. Ooh.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so the kids, they're going to be super excited when they see this book. They're going to be able to purchase it, and then the book will go in the school library and the community library. So something I'm really passionate about is kids writing books for kids.
Yeah.
I really want to get that off the ground, and because I'm an indie author at the moment, it just means I can go in and teach kids. It's that real world connection that they're missing. They're doing English and they're learning narrative structures and things things like that. But nobody's ever showing them what it means when you have a finished product. Like you can enter competitions and you can win prizes and money and you can publish your work and you can go out and you can sell it to people. Like it's actually a product. So that's what Book Builders Challenge is about, and that's what I'm passionate about.
My gosh, I am just left speechless after that. That is incredible.
Thank you.
What an amazing project. Look, I would be remiss to not finish this interview by asking, when do you find time to write?
That's been a problem because this year I took the year's leave without pay from my real job so that I could write. And people like in the industry, people say, you know, just apply for everything and just see what happens. And then of course I bloody did that, didn't I? I applied for everything. And then I actually got 3 opportunities this year. And so I had to structure my year, and now people have found out about stuff and I'm losing more and more time. So I'm not actually getting to write. So I got to write in term 1, term 2 and term 3 of all these projects. And then term 4, I was like, great, I can write again. And now I'm just starting to get calls for like other things. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool too. What do I do?
I know. Because it is. I mean, it's a genuine problem, isn't it? Like it's the writings is fantastic, obviously, because you have to do that or you don't have a product. But then there's all these other big missions that start to emerge, the reason you started writing in the first place. And as they take a life of their own, it's really hard to say no to them, but also keep connected to your original mission of creating your own books, which I think is a genuine problem. We don't necessarily talk about much. And maybe it's not necessarily having to do everything at once. Like you said, it's okay to take, you know, like even a whole year or part of a year, because it's really a long game, isn't it? So you're going to be writing for a very long time. You don't have to necessarily, you know, have a book out a month.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty hard. Like that side of it's pretty difficult for me because I love working with kids, like almost as much, actually probably the same as writing. And I'm also like a bit of a creative person. I love creating products. Like my life, if I look back over my jobs, I've created products or I've marketed people or their products. So every time something comes up and it's like a new idea and I can see all these sparks fly and I'm taking away from the writing. When the writing is actually the point why I'm here.
Yes,
It's like this vicious circle that I've just got to find time. But, you know, writers do things in their own way. Like some people believe they have to write every day. Other people write in blocks. I know people that like go away for 2 weeks and hire like a hotel and just do not speak to their family. So maybe one day I'll be in a position to be able to just go, bye.
Yeah, I would love to do that. In fact, it was funny that I'm turning 50 this year and the family said, what do you want? And I said, for you all to go away or send me away.
That's what I said when I turned 45 last week. I was like, just give me some time.
And don't be fooled, because there's this amazing feature on Zoom that can now actually, you just sort of makes you look better online. And last week I was on a call with my husband. He said, gee, you look good online. I said, I know, right? I don't normally look like this. I normally have way more wrinkles, but it's some Zoom thing it's doing to my face. Yeah. It's fantastic. So we look young, but we're really...
People say I look young. I get that all the time. But, man, when you're 45, you do not feel it. I need some, like, magical medicine to make my bones move.
All right. There's a book in that. Magical medicine to make my bones move. Very good. Well,
or a T-shirt.
Or a T-shirt. There's a product. There we are. She's inventing products every second.
Make my bones move. Actually, that sounds dodgy.
Depends who you sell it to, I think. Thank you so much for being on the show. I've had the best time. I've learned so much. We have more things added to our to-do list. We've got to all walk into bookshops this week and be like, here's my book. Want to sign me up for consignment?
Yeah, you should totally do that. Just once you do a couple, you'll be totally fine. 100%.
Well, I wish you and your book such great success. Keep in touch. We want to know if you end up when you end up getting the deal. And we especially want to have you back on the show after the whole process is over to unpack if it met up to your expectations.
Ooh, that's amazing. I'd love to do that. I hope it does.
Well, hey, I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter because I'm indie.
So you've always got that. And, you know, I like to say you're allowed to be both these days. Each of your books finds their home and goes out into the world. And that's the most important thing, right? So.
Oh, lovely. That's gorgeous. You have got the Post-it note now.
I finished with my own Post-it note.
That's right.
Thank you, Kristy. Well, all the links to Kristy and her amazing dynamic list of things that she does will be in the show notes. And thank you again so much for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I had a blast.
Did you find that interview valuable? Great! Now be an awesome human and go and leave a review because it helps the podcast out so much. Want to read the show notes? Check out thechildren'sbookauthorpodcast.com. Want to find out more about me, Eleanor Page? Find me at eleanorpage.com or come and say hello on social at Eleanor Page Books. Until next time, keep writing and keep learning.